Across the United States, native bees, silent, unseen, yet vital, are under a grave threat. In Laurel, Maryland, the U.S. Geological Survey's Bee Lab houses over 1 million specimens, underpinning more than 800 scientific papers. But now, it faces an existential risk: federal budget cuts that could shutter its doors and darken our understanding of pollinators. This lab focuses on native species, from mining bees and mason bees to sweat bees and leafcutter bees that pollinate wildflowers, fruits, vegetables, and crops. Unlike managed honeybees, many native bees are solitary or nest in the ground, each with unique behaviors and ecological roles. Scientists estimate that over 80% of flowering plants rely on these unsung pollinators. Since its founding 23 years ago, the lab has cataloged species distributions, tracked population shifts, and identified new species in remote habitats. Its collections serve as a time capsule, revealing how bees responded to land use changes, pesticide exposures, and climate fluctuations. Graduate students and postdocs worldwide depend on its reference materials to model pollinator declines and guide conservation policies. When this lab closes, we lose more than specimens. We lose baselines essential for detecting early warning signs of collapse. We lose the capacity to identify invasive pests before outbreaks become crises. We abandon 800 research insights that inform best practices for habitat restoration, integrated pest management, and agricultural planning. Why is it threatened? A recent federal budget draft labels climate, biodiversity, and ecosystem research as non-essential spending, a political decision divorced from ecological realities. Pollinator monitoring is not advocacy. It is life support for food chains and wildlands alike. Yet the lab's funding line is on the chopping block. The consequences of closure are far-reaching. Farmers growing almonds in California's Central Valley need native bee data to boost pollination efficiency. Orchardists in Michigan rely on species-specific emergence calendars to manage bloom periods. Without access to accurate records, crop yields could falter. Conservationists, too, are at risk. Habitat restoration projects use bee presence records to prioritize sites for native plant plantings and wildflower corridors. Without specimens, managers cannot verify species presence or adapt seed mixes to local pollinator communities. Restoration efforts would stumble in the dark. Around the world, pollinators are collapsing. Pesticide drift poisons nests. Monocultures starve specialist bees. Pathogens spread rapidly among stressed populations. The global red list now flags hundreds of bee species as threatened, from Europe's stink bug parasites to South America's orchid bees. Insect population losses of 80% have been documented in some regions over the past decade. Yet hope buzzes in emerging solutions. Crowdsourced bee spotting apps empower citizens to log sightings, creating massive data sets for researchers. AI-driven acoustic sensors detect bee wing beats in real time, offering non-invasive monitoring in remote fields. Remote-controlled cameras survey nest tunnels, revealing life cycles unseen by the naked eye. These tools, however, rely on taxonomic expertise to interpret findings, and that knowledge lives in the USGS Bee Lab's drawers. What can you do? First, speak up. Write to your representatives and demand sustained funding for the USGS Bee Lab. Second, support organizations like the Xerces Society and Pollinator Partnership, which advocate for pollinator policies and fund grassroots habitat projects. Third, plant native wildflowers and avoid systemic insecticides in your garden. Each patch of pollinator-friendly habitat counts. Join community science surveys. Apps like BeeWatch and iNaturalist welcome your observations, helping map distributions and seasonal shifts. Host bee nights at local parks to raise awareness. Engage with farmers markets and ask producers about pollination practices. Consumer choice drives agricultural change. Saving this lab isn't a partisan issue. It transcends political divides because it underpins our food security, ecosystem health, and climate resilience. Without specimens and research, We navigate blindfolded into an era of accelerating pollinator loss. This is a fight we can win, but only if we act now. Funding this lab preserves the expertise, the specimens, and the data essential to steward our pollinators. In safeguarding the unseen, we protect the very foundation of life on Earth. Speak up for native bees. Protect the bee lab. Because when we lose the pollinators, we lose a pillar of our food systems, our economies, and our natural heritage. Let's ensure that the hum of native bees continues to echo through fields, gardens, and wild places for generations to come.